Well, it's time. We're down to what could be midnight hour. The closing of the curtains for D2L Season 2 potentially in front of us as Liquid leads Team Dignitas 2-1 in our best-of-5 grand finals. Team Liquid hanging 2 in a row on Dignitas, coming out of the lower bracket, trailing the series by 1 game because of that fact. And in a rematch of a series we saw earlier today in which Dignitas really just beat Liquid badly in the winners bracket finals. So this is the second time today these teams have met. The two teams that know each other very well, know each other personally, both occupying North American geography, which again, I've just kind of dubbed this, at least to myself, as the Q1 North American World Championships at this point. And Liquid just one more game away. If they can get one more win, they get 3 in a row, they'll walk away our Season 2 champions. Dignitas, though, they've shown it to us already a bunch here in our playoff Strascal. They are no strangers to comebacks, and they know how to execute them with the best of them.
I'd say they're probably one of the best teams playing from behind that I've ever seen. And that goes even as far back as like TI2 and things like that. They're just really good at maximizing efficiency and knowing what decisions they have to make. So that's why I was so surprised to see a team composition that Liquid put together do so well against Dignitas, because on paper, playing against heavy aggression and avoiding bad situations is something that Dignitas should be pretty good at, given how they played earlier today. But it just felt to me maybe they've been playing for a long time, maybe they're a bit tired or what have you. I don't really know what the reasoning is behind it, but Liquid just able to get enough of an advantage to basically put Dignitas away. And that game, I'll say right now, it was still close. Up until the point where I saw the first Rax die, I would have almost said either team could take it. Of course, Dignitas were behind, but they weren't so far behind that they couldn't potentially turn fights around, because they had been doing so the entire game. So both games so far reasonably close, I would say, and Liquid, of course, being the winner of both the first and second real games, and Dignitas came into it with a 1-win lead. So like you said, this is pretty much the last hurrah for Dignitas. If they don't win here, we could be looking at our new D2L champions.
Absolutely. Third place, by the way, for those who are maybe just tuning in, going, oh my God, this is awesome, but I don't understand what happened with the brackets. Empire, our third place team, defeated by Team Liquid on their way through the lower brackets. So now shaking out our other 2 positions. Fnatic, our first team out, finishing in 4th. Now, I'll tell you what made the difference for Liquid, man. And it was the fact that in that last engagement for what felt like the first time the entire game, they had their initiation priorities 100% straight. Their chain of initiation was exactly what it had to be. Korok and TC were able to jump on top of Way Too Sexy on the Shadow Demon, take him out of the fight, and the lasso from Bulba got the target he had to have, which was the Magnus. So with those 2 big counter-initiating heroes gone immediately, and with no buyback to get them into the fight, all Dignitas could do was fall back. And that was the state of things throughout the entire game. Liquid, and be it through good positioning and good movement and good decision-making of Dignitas or mistakes made by Liquid, no matter what you want to attribute it to, it was a reality that Liquid was just not always getting those chains of initiations correct. But when they did, it was enough to allow them to close out Game 1. We're going to see the Darkseer picked up now by Dignitas to go with Gyrocopter and the TAs. So a lot of damage already coming out of Team Dignitas. I got a feeling this is going to be a game they want to play their way, their style, play it aggressive.
Well, aggressive is pretty much the name of the game. Whenever you have somebody like a Templar Assassin, her mid-game presence is huge. The one thing, though, about picking it this early is it gives Team Liquid a chance to pick a decent counter lineup. Now, against Puck, we've seen how good Templar Assassin can actually perform in a one-on-one, and it looks like Nature's Prophet is going to be a hero they could potentially use against Templar Assassin in the middle lane. Not really many people think about it, but Treants are just as annoying for Templar Assassin as they are every other ranged hero, because they can eat through your refraction, and they basically make it so a hero can actually harass you. So maybe Team Liquid was expecting this. They've seen in the past the pattern of Dignitas picking TA against the Puck mid and trying to abuse it. So we'll see if Team Liquid want to try to alter their lanes a bit, similar to how Dignitas altered their lanes when the Puck actually dodged the middle lane when they were playing up against Empire, I believe it was, and then they ended up just completely, or no, it was Fnatic, I think. I think it was Fnatic. Okay,
Sounds
I'm getting my games mixed up. But basically, they switched the lanes, and then they won because they knew that they would dodge. So we'll see how Dignitas wants to react to seeing Nature's Prophet. Now, I'm not saying it's 100% going to be mid, but I think it would do better than the Puck.
Well, looking at what Dignitas has already drafted out, they've got the Darkseer Templar Assassin. Now, whenever I see those 2 heroes, I see 2 heroes that excel at allowing other heroes on their team to close a gap. Now, obviously, Darkseer, TA, both want to be in close proximity. That's why TA has Side Trap. Darkseer with Surge going to be able to help her close that gap even quicker. But, I mean, Blink Dagger, usually going to be enough for a TA. what we might end up seeing, oh, well, the lifesteal already banned, so that's my fault. I actually, for whatever reason, had that tagged in my head as another hero. But such as it is, mobility going to be something that Dignitas is going to be able to abuse as they want to. And it actually wouldn't surprise me at all if we saw a mobility kind of based build come out of a gyrocopter, phase into drum, something maybe along those lines. We even saw it earlier, seeing a gyro just go straight up Yasha into a Manta style just so he has that extra movement speed. He's able to skirt around the periphery of a fight and abuse flat cannon as well as close the gap and allow him to isolate heroes with his call down and with his rocket barrage. On the side of Liquid, this just feels like another Liquid-esque lineup, and they've shown it to us 3 games in a row now, Draskell. Already with these 3, I see a jack-of-all-trades lineup. You've got reach and puck, you've got initiation to go with a, to make Prophet a +1 to any gank attempt so they can be aggressive if they want, or you can fall back and turtle out in the jungle. Lone Druid the exact same way. They can look to push towers, or they can look to just farm him for a late game. Then you have the split push that comes with the Druid and the Prophet as well. But again, whenever you draft this kind of a lineup, and they have had no problem so far, so no reason not to go back to the well again. But when you do come up with this kind of a lineup, you have to execute. Otherwise, it's very easy to fall behind in the early stages of a game.
It's always easy to fall behind against a team like Dignitas. I mean, just in general, both these teams play at such a high level that mistakes are amplified tenfold. And the decision-making of both these teams, especially in this particular best-of-5, has been very, very fun to watch. Because whenever you watch a game, you can really get an idea of how high-caliber a team is just by how they move and why they're taking the fights that they're taking. And I feel like Liquid was a large reason why they won that game, is because most of the fights, they actually had pretty good reasoning behind why they were playing aggressive in the first place. So totally echoing your sentiment there. But the nice thing about Prophet is that he does give you some leeway. It's one thing to execute, but when you have the ability to split push, you can punish a lineup like Dignitas has pretty nicely just because you see those heroes, TA, Darkseer, Gyrocopter. Those are all pretty much team fight heroes. Templar Assassin is an assassin for most intents and purposes. She can burst people. Yeah, she can burst people really quickly. She can get in and out of fights nicely, but she does shine in these big engagements where you can just get in, help focus one of the tankier heroes down, like a Lone Druid, for example, and have the Gyrocopter assisting in that damage. So I feel like when you run split push against team fight lineups, it's a little bit easier for you to just open up the map because you have somebody like Prophet at your disposal.
One little, call it a gimmick or just call it a tactic that Dignitas may be willing to pull out. You have a Darkseer who in most cases is going to be able to get up his items pretty quickly. He might go ahead and get up a medallion early on, or even the TA could. You're going to have the armor reduction coming from Meld. And then with any kind of other armor reduction, not to mention Gyrocopter and his ability to use, and it isn't the biggest deal in the world, but Rocket Barrage does work against Roshan despite his magic resistance, especially if it's maxed out. They have the potential to take a shot at a very, very early Roshan. They're going to go ahead and grab up a Shadow Shaman here. That's another very aggressive pick. Usually you see a Shadow Shaman come out because you want to start pushing a lot early. You want to start using your wards on towers, and it allows you to play aggressive in lane if you want to, or to just play aggressive 5-man Dota. You're going to have 2 extremely effective disables in Shackle and Hex. Very easy to get those off. Ether Shock, if you have the mana to support your entire spell base by the time that point in the game rolls around, actually does pretty solid damage as well. So I feel like it's really good drafting out of Dignitas once again. And their plan just seems to be, and I think this is good for them, they're not too all in on any one aspect of the game. Instead, they have a lineup that, to me, just wants to fight. Like, I look at this lineup and go, this lineup wants to fight. They don't have to be hyper-aggressive and dive towers, but they just want to start fighting very soon.
And they can fight quite well, too.
Exactly.
Especially once the Shadow Shaman hits 6. That is a lineup that I do not want to try to engage myself. So the thing for Liquid right now is they don't have any supports. Seems pretty common nowadays. People are saving their supports for the last 2 picks. So you see a Shadow Shaman, obviously a hero who's probably not going to be moving around a whole lot. Do Team Liquid want to take the initiative and try to abuse the fact that they do have a Nature's Prophet? Do they want to try to put together some sort of a tri-lane? With the Lone Druid, it would be an awkward tri-lane. I'm not going to lie. But with a Shadow Shaman and the tri-lane, that's also kind of an awkward one because he's not so good in that situation. It seems like the first support choice for Liquid is going to be a Lion, a lot of very much needed disable, as so far Puck is pretty much the only even mini-stun that Liquid had on their side other than Entangle, which of course you can't necessarily rely on so much, although TC of course being one of the better root or entanglers I've ever seen. And just in general, for Liquid I think it's going to be better for them to actually try to force it sooner rather than later, because if you let the Shadow Shaman hit 6, you let the Darkseer get up his mech, and the Gyrocopter get some farm, I think they're actually going to have a tough time taking engagements in 5-on-5.
Liquid picking up the Lion, I really like that. I really feel like they need another carry, though. Even a Juggernaut, something like that, just something that is going to give Druid some space, because we've seen lineups over and over again, and not to say Prophet can't be an okay off carry and that they're not going to have damage potential. They're going to have plenty of damage so long as they're able to get their items up. That's not the problem. We've just seen it so many times where if you're relying on your Druid to be your main source of push, your main source of pushing damage, which is what he would be. I mean, Prophet, again, once he gets items up, he'll be okay. But if you're relying on him to be your main source of physical DPS through the whole game, what ends up happening, and especially with a mobile team like Dignitas, is they can just focus that Druid down. They can dedicate all of their time to just taking the map away from him and ganking him, even to the detriment of some of their supports, and it'll be okay. And now, yeah, with the Clockwork pickup, that's even more reach, even more ways for Dignitas to take a fight. I feel like Liquid needs a damage dealer, and they need it badly right here.
I agree, especially because now the teamfight potential for Dignitas is amplified because they have something like cogs to vacuum people into.
Right.
That combo, very underestimated, especially because you have things like Shadow Shaman wards too, and wards are best utilized by lineups that can hold people in places for long periods of time, and what better to do that than an 8-second power cog. That ability, ever since it's been buffed, ridiculously good. So we're talking about vacuum, call down, Shadow Shaman wards, Ether Shock has a pretty decent AoE itself, hits up to 7 targets. There's a lot of damage coming out from the way of Dignitas right now, and Liquid, I think they're going to have to rely more on split pushing than anything else. They are going to pick a Venomancer, so we'll see what kind of lanes they want to try to put together here. The thing for me is, where are the supports really going to actually go?
Yep.
Because if they wanted to, what they could do is potentially dual lane mid, and just allow the Venomancer to just harass the TA, or they could put the Prophet mid if they want to. But I think what's more likely to happen is more standard lanes coming out of Team Liquid. So Dignitas, on the other hand, I do like their lineup better. I don't really see any way that Liquid can actually fight them.
Yeah,
I agree. That's the biggest worry that I have right now.
Oh, you mean you can't fight in a game where you're supposed to kill the other team? Oh, yeah, I would imagine that'd be a problem. I just got a disconnect notice. Oh, it looks like I'm good. Hopefully that was just a brief blip. And did you happen to see that flash up on your screen at all?
Yeah, I did. It was me and you, so I think the server might be a little bit laggy.
I would rather it be the server than my ISP dropping out and what could potentially. I probably just could not resume the broadcast. I'd probably throw my monitor through the window. That is very likely to have happened if my internet were to drop right now. But anyway, guys, we are in what could potentially be our final game, not just of the day, our final game of D2L Season 2. And looking back, it's been a long season. There were some delays. And, one thing that, it's easy for your season to get stretched out because we tried to work very hard with the other tournaments around us. In fact, the reason for the weird timing on our playoffs here and having it right in the middle of the week, the hour's not the best for European viewers, is we're trying to be accommodating to DreamHack, trying to be accommodating to TPL, to Virtus Pro, and their tournament that they're going to have going on. So, that's one of the reasons we're dead in the middle of the week. And because of that and our ability to work with a lot of teams, we did get stretched out a little bit. We started all the way back in December. We only had like 1 or 2 matches in December. But that's been quite some time ago, as you can imagine. And we're ready to drop the curtain on this season. And like I said at the beginning of Game 1, this is kind of a let your hair down kind of moment for us. And, yeah, I'm sure you're exhausted. I'm getting tired, Draskell. But it feels good to just be able to focus on Dota and say, you know what, we are in the grand finals, and it's all about these 2 teams and nothing more than that, at least for right now. So thanks to all of you guys, especially our Euros and our Southeast Asia folks. I know are either up late or up early, as the case may be. You North American viewers, for the first time in a long time, because you don't see it too often, getting some primetime Dota content smack in your wheelhouse in the middle of the week. So hope you're enjoying it as well. And we'll run through our lineups as it doesn't look like we're going to have any aggression. Way Too Sexy going to be playing on our Shadow Shaman. Fog going to be handling our Clockwork Goblin. And TC playing on our Lone Druid, going toe-to-toe with Universe right now. And Universe happy to karate chop him right in the face, do a little bit of damage in the meantime. Owie 2000 going to be farming up the Gyro with TA, handled by Sneaking and Min. Now, Sneaking had a phenomenal game earlier today on TA, going to be looking to repeat that performance. TC going to be playing our Lone Druid on the side of Liquid. Korok setting up shop in mid on Puck. Again, been playing this hero a lot in our playoffs. Fluff, the captain, handling line. He is going to rotate his way to mid. Way 2's there, actually, under cover of an invis, and the sentry spots him out. They're unable to do anything but harass him out. Oh, wow, he may chase him. He will not jump to it. And Way 2 now out of vision range, so unfortunately unable to clean that up. But back to Bulba. Bulba on Prophet. Do not expect to see. Yeah, he actually just went YOLO, man. He flat out got a glove of haste right out the gate.
Well, he realizes that the movement potential from Dignitas is quite low. Why not? Why not go for the Midas if you know that at the very least the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game are going to be pretty slow? But You also have Dignitas, who have sneaking mid versus a puck. I mean, this lineup, he has been known to just crush. Like, he's done a really, really good job, and as well he should, because TA is refraction. There's nothing Korok can really do about it, per se. He can try to be as aggressive as possible, but eventually the TA is going to pull ahead. So, and bottom, Aoi is going to be free farming, but then again, of course, you have TC, who is also free farming. And I think this is going to be a little bit of passivity before anything else, and then there's going to be a whole heck of a lot of fighting, because Liquid have great reach, they have good mobility, and they also have the potential to split push with the best of them.
I'll tell you what I think Liquid needs to do and what's going to suit them much better than the alternative. When I look at Dignitas' lineup, and we joked about it, I mean, Dignitas has a lineup that I don't think anyone wants to fight her, and Liquid really can just run into flat out at any stage, at least in the mid-game or on through the mid-game, and just flat out try to take a 5-on-5 with no advantage. I think Liquid's actually going to be better served if they look at that and go, okay, what we need to do is be the aggressors ourselves. Let's not let them just get up the items they want on Aoi. Let's not let them have a chance to get a mech up on Darkseer if we can help it. Let's try to shut down sneaking in mid so he doesn't repeat the performance he had against us earlier today. And doing that, they're going to get more use out of that mobility and that reach. Whereas if they end up just sitting back under their towers and trying to play a farm game, I worry that at one point or another, Dignitas is just going to go for it, get a couple of team wins, and all of a sudden, all that reach is almost negated. Now, Fogged in trouble, and this is what I was talking about. Bulba joining the fight. He's right there with it. He doesn't have Sprout, but he's not going to need it. And our first blood goes the way of Liquid and give it to Bulba.
This is one of the weaknesses of picking an offlaner like Clock nowadays, when a lot of the teams favor something like a Prophet, a Lone Druid, a Darkseer. All three of those heroes can easily rotate to the jungle and capitalize on where otherwise your offlaner would just not be getting any farm. The unfortunate truth is, Dignitas already have two people basically sitting in the jungle. They have Way2 kind of chilling there, and they also have Universe who's farming it himself. Now, Dignitas has double jungle before. It's more or less just that Fog can't do it on his hero. So he's forced in a bad position. And speaking of bad positions,
there's a Hex followed by a Venomous Gale, and they may have a chance. Oh, the surge from Darkseer just in time. And this is exactly what I was talking about out of Liquid. Even though they don't get the kill, I think this is what they need to do. Playing just a flat-out farm game is going to do nothing but get them run over at like 25 minutes into this game. Applying pressure, moving your supports around, and getting a kill there would have been gigantic for them. They don't get it, and that does hurt. But at the same time, just making Sneaking think twice. Maybe he won't play quite as aggressive.
Just applying pressure is really all the supports need to do at this stage. It does lose him a little bit of experience, but in all honesty, Fog is playing incredibly scared up here. He has no vision whatsoever, so as long as the supports aren't on the map, both mid and top have to be 10 times more cautious, and that's just the kind of effect that you have when you have supports that can actually move around the map. Way2 doesn't have any plans of moving from this jungle until he hits 6. There's pretty much no way. Even once he does, it's much more likely that he'll just push when he gets the Shadow Shaman awards and go for the tier 1. So for Liquid, their mid is a lot safer, respectively, than what Dignitas is looking to be so far. And honestly, if Fluff and IX Mike manage to get a couple of decent early levels, things like Poison Nova and getting an early Finger of Death are quite nice, and you can burst heroes down incredibly fast.
4.5 minutes in, we got one kill on the board. It belongs to Liquid. That was our first blood. Taking a look at the CS, we can see Aoi sitting on top. He's at 31-5, 25-14, or excuse me, 26-14 now for our Lone Druid, handled by TC. And if there is one good thing that Liquid's got going for them, is if it does come down to just a flat-out slugfest between those two heroes in the ultra late game, you kind of, I mean, that's so hard to call, though. It's like, you know, in a one-on-one, you want to give the edge to the Lone Druid because he has the potential to root, he has the potential to just put him on him, maybe have a basher up on the bear, so on and so forth. But that's not how Dota's played. You have to worry about your supports being blown up by flak cannon if you have an extremely farmed gyrocopter. So, I mean, even that's tough to call. It'll all come down again to just execution and initiation. But Liquid, as of right now, just continuing to do their thing. I'll tell you one thing that can happen. Korok cannot get behind here in mid. I mean, he's obviously going to struggle a bit against TA, but if he dies once or twice of sneaking here, that's going to be disastrous for them.
I don't think he will die. I mean, this lineup, it's actually hard to die, but if your orb's on cooldown, there is a possibility, I guess.
Oh, good phase. He will jump to it. And almost cut that about as close as he possibly could. In the meantime, up at top, we're going to have a reaction. Bulba moving up to help them push. And Fog doing what he can from outside of the trees, or inside of the trees. But this tier 1 tower is going to drop, and it wouldn't surprise me a bit to see them push through to tier 2. And I love when teams do this. If they push, are they going to go or are they going to not? Little indecisiveness. We got 2 pulling back. That's going to be Mike grabbing. Not sure what he picked up. Looks like both getting their boots. But just pushing through to tier 2, even if they don't intend to try to push it down or sell out on it, just trying to keep the other team honest and force some kind of reaction, as Owie's nowhere. I mean, just now beginning to do damage to his own tier 1.
Well, it's not necessarily how fast you push the tier 1 in this case. It's more if Liquid are going to go for a tier 2. Like, if you're going for the tier 2, you want to force Universe out. Universe, by this point, is actually level 6, so he's got at least 3 points into his Ion Shell, and his counter push will be quite strong. So I don't actually think that Liquid are going to be able to get to tier 2, and I hope that's not... Yeah, that's everyone.
Yeah, that's all of us.
Not just me. All right, I was actually panicking there for a second, because I didn't hear you say anything. Usually when it starts to lag, we get that, like, okay, it's lagging a tiny bit, but everything seems to be okay. But Dignitas, they can very easily push the tier 1 as well, and especially because Shadow Shaman is 6, what could happen is they could do what they normally do with this and go for a quick tier 2. If they see the glyph is used in the tier 1, they can do what they did to Liquid earlier today and just get 2 towers straight away because of massive rewards.
Owie, cleaning up the rest of the creep wave, should be able to get this tier 1 without too much of a problem. Taking a look at Wade 2, he is level 6. Ready to roll. In mid, we've got 2. That's Universe plus sneaking. And just applying a lot of pressure to Puck, they're going to go for it again. Orb is going to be off cooldown if he needs it. And he's eating a lot of damage here for free. Woo. And again, he's hit twice. Korok has done that. He is living... Oh, no! From downtown, Fogged! Fogged shot that from the well! Are you kidding me? Shot it from the well, connected just... And we even see it still falling just behind the tier 2. That is a big bullseye, and he just hit it.
That was an incredible shot. I was not expecting that. Like, to be totally honest, I didn't even see the rocket on the minimap until it hit him. Yep. I was like, oh man, good God, what a shot. But tier 2 is being pressure bottom lane. Bulba actually taking a bit of damage himself here.
And Bulba slowed down from the call down. Owie's right on him. He doesn't have the mana. He has to TP away. And TC gets there just with the IX Mike. That's disappointing. Oh, he spit the call down, slowed him down, got behind the tower, went up, don't have the mana to use Rocket Barrage. If he had, that was a super dead Bulba. I mean, Bulba would have had no chance. But as is, tier 2 remains standing. And Sneaking has just had utter rune control every 2 minutes. See the little notice that he's got himself another rune. This time it's going to be an illusion. There's 3 making their way to mid now, though. 1-to-1. We're all knotted up kill-wise. Terms of towers, 1 down on each side, at least for the moment. The farm, relatively even. 59 for Owie, 61 for TC. Every time I see a rocket now, I'm expecting another big play.
Well, after saying a rocket like that, I don't blame you, to be totally honest. But Sneaking is still doing a really good job here mid. Even after the 2 supports rotated over to middle lane to try to apply some pressure, he's still almost 2 levels up on Korok right now. And again, that's just the inherent disadvantage that Puck has against a TA. But still, the fact that he's able to do this on such a consistent basis against such a high-caliber player like Korok is always going to be impressive. So Dignitas looking to be pretty good here in the early game. They're actually getting quite a bit ahead in the way of experience gold, not necessarily so much, and they did apply some pressure to the tier 2 tower bottom, but TC has now made his way down here, and he's not had a horrible start. Of course, he's sitting at the highest in the last hits, and of course he was in the defensive position, so he can actually do this. He can sit here, he can farm the wave. I really hope the server clears up, by the way, because I would hate for this to continue. It's just very annoying. Yeah, well, that's not obnoxious.
Yeah.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Unfortunate timing. But at least, I'll tell you, so long as it looks like Owie screwed up his pull because of it. And, yeah, I didn't actually see it happen, but anyway. Still going back to work on his farm. We'll go and switch it to the net worth. I mean, at this stage, 10 minutes in, I usually like to keep it on your standard last hits. It just tends to be a better metric, but with so much farming happening in the jungle right now, especially on the side of Shadow Shaman, and Puck was actually cleaned up there. Yeah, he's down, and now I'm getting a little bit of camera jump, actually. It's a little more lag, perhaps, just on my side, but anyway. Gonna see the tier 1 now under assault from Dignitas. They're gonna bring it down without opposition. And Owie and TC just going back and forth farming against each other in bottom lane in the meantime. Fogged against Fluff.
It's just really nice movement so far coming out of Dignitas. They know that when Shadow Shaman wards are up, if you get in a position before Liquid are able to react, then you basically get the tower. Like, that's pretty much just how it works. They have a lot of range here so they can beat down the wards, but the thing is, if they're already up, and you don't have a glyph, which they obviously didn't have for the tier 1 because they use it in the tier 2 bottom, then you basically just have to sack the tower completely. So Fluff getting some free experience here, like you had mentioned, that's actually very helpful for Liquid because they need his burst right now.
Right.
They need the Finger of Death up because they can't really kill anyone without it. So Sneaking has an Indus here. He's going to be walking into 2 heroes. I don't think he's actually going to go for it, although I suppose he could. It's just a little bit risky.
We see a hook. I'm sure he's going to go for it now. And there's the follow-up. The Earth Spike, now the Sprout. Bulba trying to do what he can, but will be cleaned up. No help coming. Fluff has managed to make it away. 3-1 now. Dignitas leads, and there's another lag spike. That's going to happen in the middle of a team fight. You wait and see. And it's going to be miserable. It is going to be absolutely horrendous. And maybe this is the one that finally boots us out of the game. Nope, not quite. Catch up. 11 minutes, 20 seconds in, and Dignitas showing signs of life. Not wanting to go quietly into that good night. Not wanting to lose. 3-1 in this best of 5. And here comes another from downtown rocket flare. Kaboom. But doesn't really come to any great result. They're just going to trade tier 1 for tier 1, top for bottom.
Honestly, this still favors Dignitas, though, because Liquid isn't really getting anything back. Liquid is just kind of doing it because they have to. They don't want to try to take a 5 versus 5 fight against Dignitas lineup. It's just too strong. So the gold experience slowly but surely climbing in favor of Dignitas as time goes on. And even though we talked about the efficiency of not having an offlaner who can't really collapse into his own jungle and really get in the effective farm, they still had 2 people effectively farming their woods anyway.
Right.
So with Fluff and the Venomancer walking between middle and top, even that one time, that does put them a little bit behind in terms of the experience and gold department. So supports of Dignitas, I mean, level 7 on the Shadow Shaman. Fluff's still not even 6, and neither is IX Mike. And this is actually getting to be a little bit annoying, like having this particular lag spike. I mean, it is for me. I can't even imagine what it's like for the teams, especially with so much on the line.
Yep.
I mean, this is kind of a hassle right now.
And we're going to end up all getting tossed out of the game here soon is what's going to happen. And then we're going to have to try to remake from save and hope to goodness. Yeah. Yeah, one's up, one dropped. And now we get to play the waiting game. Very sorry, guys. Obviously, this is out of our hands. And I don't think... Loads work sometimes. That's what we'll see. But I don't know that it's going to help the issue. Because when you see disconnect like that, I don't think it's an individual server problem. If it was an individual server problem, we just get kicked out. Yeah, so hopefully it'll be fixed. But I think it's a network issue more so than the individual server that we happen to be on. Well, is Pulpa dead? So long as Pulpa's dead, I'm fine. All right, anyway. I think we just need to resume. And... just try. See, the thing is, whenever you say we should just try, that can often turn into a 20-minute hassle. And
yeah, well, not only does it turn into a hassle, but Dignitas are really far ahead here. I mean, if they're willing to try it, then basically what it boils down to is we'll do a remake. If it doesn't work, we just immediately have to go to a new game. And that hurts because you can't really give a win to anyone in a 12-minute game.
Yeah. That's about as best I know. It seems like both teams are willing, but... yeah, if there's one more gigantic, massive lag, we'll remake. But I'm saying right here and now on stream, and I'm going to make it clear to the teams before they declare it. If there is another lag, I'm going to make it as clear as I can, and hopefully someone... well, hang on, wait till going to be caught out. Yeah, there's that burst from Fluff. That awful, terrible sound now with the return kill, or looking for the return kill. Safe, says Mike. And the Root's going to catch Sneaking. Fall going to get himself another kill. There's a hook. Going to catch Fluff inside of the call down. Immobilize him just long enough. He's going to add another kill to his total. And Lone Druid picked off as well. That's 6-2 now, favoring Dignitas. And Liquid loses 3 in exchange for the 1. They sure did blow the hell out of that Shadow Shaman. Don't think it was worth it in the long run, though.
Definitely not. I mean... they got way too, for sure. I mean, they showed that guy what's up. And Universe could be in some trouble here top as well. Oh, never mind. He's just going to do a smart thing and TP away. So, all in all, not going to lose too much for it. But Dignitas, they're kind of just rolling this game so far. So, I hope to God that we don't have to remake. Because every single time we've remade, it's not worked.
Yep.
I don't think we've had a single successful remake and reload, I should say, in the history of the D2L. So, if that happens, I will be sad. Because Dignitas is doing well right now. And I want to see it go to a Game 5. I want to get... pretty much all the games we can possibly get in this particular series because I think it's pretty much the best series that we can possibly have, not just because of North American teams, but because they're the best teams in the tournament. They made it this far. They deserve to have a proper series, so hopefully it doesn't come to that.
I was going to say, it's almost as if we designed some sort of system that would give us the 2 best teams at the end. I mean, it's almost as if that's the case. But anyway, we actually have had a remake work one time. Remember Monthly Madness Asia? We did it one time. There was once in Monthly Madness Asia where we had the golems in the river, if you remember that.
Yeah, that I remember.
And then it was one time after that we gave it a shot, and it actually worked. It was like in the semifinals or something. Other than that, there's always been a problem. Someone can't connect or any number of issues. But what I was going to say before the fight broke out was that I'm going to make it clear to the teams, and hopefully our admins will too, that if we try to remake or try to load from save one time and it doesn't work, we're not going to try 25 more times. We will just start a brand new game. So that's going to be a decision that the team in the lead has to make at that point. And here we go. Fluff going to be engaged upon. He's a big meld. Gets the Hex off. That might be enough to get him away. TC's there. Follows up with an Earth Spike. Universe going to land the vacuum on the Bear and the Druid himself. But Fog following it up. Fog does have a hook if he wants to spin. That doesn't look like he does. He's got help behind him. Mike now showing his face. He's got his ulti as well. He's a fresh level 6. Almost level 7, so relatively fresh face level 6. He's got Peach Fuzz. 6-2. And Dignitas actually backs off there. I'm a little surprised. I thought that they really could have forced the issue. They are very far ahead to be at this stage of the game.
I'm surprised they're so far ahead. Like, we talked about the efficiency of Dignitas lineup versus Liquid, but to be this far ahead at 15 minutes in, they haven't really done a whole lot. Yeah, they've gotten the tier 3s, or excuse me, the tier 1s, which is pretty much the entirety of their gold lead, more or less. But they're really only one tower ahead of Liquid. If you look at the overall way the game's been played out, it's not necessarily that they're getting huge advantages in any one situation. It's kind of like they're getting little things everywhere. So this is something else that Dignitas is really good at doing, is because the decision-making is good enough to a point where it doesn't seem like you're losing a whole lot, but you can feel Liquid kind of just slowly slipping into this mid-game where they're not able to really do a whole lot of anything without the entirety of their team behind them. And in that sense, Dignitas are still going to be able to crush the fights. Darkseer, Gyrocopter, Clockwork, and then you have Shadow Shaman Wars on top of everything else with the TA. Yeah, they got some team fight.
Cookies and bacon grease, man. It's cookies and bacon grease. Little things adding up to big things. 6-2, the kill score, very misleading. I mean, I just keep looking at the gold and the experience. I'm like you. I'm a little amazed that they actually are as far ahead as they are. The gold's still relatively close because, I mean, it feels like we're much later in the game because there has been a lot of movement. We're just 16 and a half minutes in. The experience, though, is really where they're ahead right now. And they're going to get another infusion of their gold as Aoi takes the last hit on that tier 2 mid. And all of a sudden, Liquid is losing tier 2s, and they've lost 2 already, or lost 1 already. They only have 2 standing.
I'm a bit reluctant right now for Liquid because it's easy to say, yeah, you got to try to make something happen, but really, what can they do?
Right.
They need everything up, and Finger Death is finally up, so maybe Fluff will make his presence felt in a team fight, and they can try to do it that way. And there's a smoke here on Dignitas, and Indizrun here as well.
TC going to be hooked out, vacuumed back as well, and yeah, just blown up. TP reactions coming now. The Root has sneaking lockdown momentarily. Just Korok's there, though. So Liquid just cutting their losses. I thought they had a chance to maybe re-engage there, and obviously it's hard to predict when things like Roots are going to go off, but as is. 7-2, and they're going to be able to take another tier 2 pretty easily here. I mean, I really don't think Liquid could even challenge this if they wanted to, but the problem is you're getting to that point in the game where, not to sound fatalistic, if you're not challenging Roshans, and that's a big old chicken, if you're not challenging Roshans, and you're not challenging the death of your tier 2s, what can you do? Like, what possible path to victory do you have? Because these are things that you cannot be giving up at 18 minutes into the game.
They've left themselves basically one option, and that's try to split push, which Bulba is doing right now, but he's not going to be able to out-split push the entirety of Dignitas walking down middle lane and trying to take a fight. So the biggest thing that Liquid is suffering from right now is a lack of damage. They just simply don't have any. I mean, their heroes, Venomancer, yeah, Poison Nova does okay, but there's already a mech up on the side of Dignitas, so that's going to offset a lot of that AoE damage, and they don't have the big follow-up like they do with the Gyrocopter on the side of Dignitas, with the cogs being vacuumed into them, taking tremendous amounts of damage from Mass Serpent Wards and Ether Shock. There's just so much damage output on Dignitas' lineup that Liquid just simply lack.
Looking at the gold graph, almost 10,000. We're going to see a missed Earth Spike there, but Sneaking not going to go for it too hardcore. Good calls, as there is help coming to assist, and we see the 3 supports, or 2 supports in the mid of Korok. hanging out in the dire side jungle. Experience is now into the 5-digit lead category for Dignitas, and the gold is right there as well. The net worth, top 2 on the board. The top 2, you do not want to have a lot of items. That's your gyrocopter and your TA. TA, with an Aegis under her belt as well, has up a set of drums and a blink dagger. Could honestly just be banking for an ultimate orb now on the way to a manta style. And taking a look at the gyro, we can see once again going the AoE build, really. I mean, this is just what AoE does. Get up something like a drums or aqualade, then go straight to your shadow blade and get phase boots up as well. And just already doing a decent amount of damage. He's already hitting for about 150 a shot, and that hurts against a hero like poor Fluff, who only has 600 hit points and is going to be taking that right on the chin because of flak cannon.
Oh, he might just be taking out the chin right now, courtesy of sneaking.
Sneaking. Blows him up. There's a hook! Fog, though, interrupted. And, oh, this feels familiar. Pretty sure we saw Sneaking dive the freaking tier 3 at 20 minutes in some other game today, too. And, yeah, basically repeating history. Why don't they just pick Sneaking TA every game, and they'll have a 100% win percentage, and the tier 3s will be no fear at all.
He just doesn't afraid of anything, man.
Doesn't.
He just walks into tier 3s. He just does whatever. Honestly, I feel like this game has very quickly gotten out of reach for Liquid.
Yeah.
Really, they picked a lineup that, for me personally, seeing their first 3 core heroes, it was pretty standard. Then they pick up a Venomancer. The hero just doesn't give you any damage.
Yep.
And now Fluff being dove past tier 3s, typical Sneaking style.
And Sneaking, yeah, he may actually pay for it this, yes. And finally made the pay. The Aegis is going to drop, so he's going to be back up and ready to fight. Playing a little too strong. But all this time, the damage being done to the tier 3, it will drop. They're going to glyph it with like 20 hit points, but it doesn't really matter. Fog locked in with the bear. Has his armlet up, has his phase boots up, Owie doing damage. There's the silence out of Korok. BKB's going to be activated. Cooldown's coming down. That's going to catch Fluff. Not enough to kill him. However, Sneaking quite mobile, hostile, and adding to his kill total. TC going to try to get back to the well, and he actually might have a chance to do so. Another rocket almost cleaned him up, actually. Surge on TA. And yeah, this is a fight that should not have lasted as long as it should. If they're actually going to get out of here and not get the racks, and that's hubris is what that is. There's no reason that rack should still be standing right now.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why they decided to do that. Maybe they're just feeling confident that they pretty much can't lose no matter what, which that's a dangerous thing to toy with, because it's not necessarily saying that TC and Bulba don't have a lot of farm, because they both do. Sure, I feel like their lineup is quite a bit weaker than Dignitas, and we spoke about that at length so far this game, especially during the drafting phase. But not getting the racks, like, that was a very, very easy racks for them. How could Liquid possibly engage, especially after the Dream Coil was already spent?
Right.
And Korok basically couldn't do anything else. I mean, I'm total in agreement with you right now on the fact that there's no reason at all that shouldn't have been at least one set of racks.
Yeah, I mean, they popped an Aegis to do that, too. As it is, though, I mean, let's be honest. We look at the Goldie experience, you're talking in excess of 12,000, and it's pretty damned out of control. The lineup of Liquid, I mean, when I look at their lineup, though, Gyro's awesome, but so is Lone Druid. And we've seen Bulba Prophet before, man. Bulba Prophet will take a game that seems out of reach and put it in reach. He does it all the time. This doesn't help if they lose the bear. He is going to be shackled down. Earthspike going to interrupt that. Now Fogged actually going to be caught. He hooks himself right on top of IX Mike. And poor Mike on that Venomancer. And I actually agree with you completely. Where I think things fell apart for Liquid was actually during the draft. And yes, that is a roundabout way of saying I feel like they got out-drafted. And it was with that Venomancer pick. That Venomancer has given them nothing. I have not felt at all for 1 minute that he has done anything that just about any other hero could. I mean, yes, Venomous Gale's awesome, but at what point in this game have I been like, oh man, look at the Gale, allow that to happen? It just hasn't really come out of my mouth. They needed some kind of AoE team fight. They needed some kind of damage. Hell, a Tidehunter, I think, would have been a better pickup. And we are going to have another lag spike, but thankfully I think it's after the game is already decided anyway.
Yeah, I'm not really sure Liquid can do anything to get back into the game. The funny thing is, if the Venomancer roaming with the Lion at the beginning of the game had been fruitful, had they killed Sneaking maybe once, if not twice, come back to the lane, keep applying pressure, then their movement would have been worth it. But otherwise, it just simply didn't matter. And yeah, Sneaking's got his BKB activated, just going to dive IX Mike, and they just call GG. They realized they pretty much lost it. In my opinion, pretty heavy outdraft here by Dignitas. It was very easy for them to run their laning phase because, A, the Shadow Shaman is never moving, he just wants to get level 6. There was emphasis on Liquid actually having some successful movement with the Venomancer and the Lion, but it just never happened. So, I mean, the Venomancer really only works if you can get kills with it, if you're running it like that, and they just couldn't secure them. So Dignitas kind of roll over Liquid here in game number 4.
16-3, 23 minutes. Should be winding itself down now. We are going to have pretty much zero downtime, guys. Howie does have a pressing commitment. And going to the full length, man, going all the way to a game 5. Would not have it any other way. No anticlimax here. Going the distance with our 2 North American squads. Just waiting on the Ancients to blow up. Should be coming momentarily. And again, if you got to run and get a pop, you better run and get it like right now, because we're likely to be right back into Game 5 in about 60 to 120 seconds at the absolute maximum. And yeah, I think this is, and what I'm just a little baffled by what Liquid's entire game plan was. I mean, if there's any team that I could point at in most cases and say that's a team that always has a plan, that's a team who is not, I mean, as good as they can be at reactionary drafting, Liquid is not known for that. Liquid is a team who loves to just put together their own course of action and then deal with what comes as it may. And we've seen them do that to great effect all throughout the D2L playoffs so far. But they just felt really scattered. They felt really adrift in what they were trying to accomplish. And Dignitas reminds us, hey, we may have lost a couple in a row, but we still have just as much a chance to win this as anyone else. 16-3, the final kill score, 24 minutes, 35 seconds. We're going to a Game 5 here in the grand finals of the D2L season number 2 playoffs. I'm EC, that's Draskell. Stick with us. The conclusion, the final curtain for D2L season 2 on the way next.